गाजा में सैकड़ों हजारों बच्चों की हालत खराब है। वो खाने पीने के सामान का इंतजार कर रहे हैं। यूएन ने कहा है कि गाजा में उनके पास 90 ट्रक राहत सामग्री की पहुंची है, जबकि 200 ट्रकों को गाजा में अंदर आने दिया गया है। दूसरी तरफ गाजा पर इजरायल के हमले भी जारी हैं।
गाजा के बचे कुचे अस्पताल इसी तरह बच्चों से भरे पड़े हैं। महीनों से चल रहे इजरायली हमलों में जख्मी बच्चों के साथ ही वो हजारों बच्चे भी हैं जो ढंग से खाना पानी न मिलने की वजह से इस हालत में पहुंचे हैं।
كتير صعب، لا في أكل ولا في إشي، عايشين على التكيات، وتكية يوم في ويوم فيش فيها التكية، مع كورونا رز مخبص، حياتنا صعبة والله।
उत्तरी गाजा का एक अस्पताल शुक्रवार को आग में घिरा नजर आया। इजरायली टैंकों और ड्रोनों के हमलों के बाद इसमें आग लग गई। इजरायल की सेना का कहना है कि वो तो अस्पताल के पास ऑपरेशन चला रही थी। वैसे गुरुवार रात से लेकर शुक्रवार सुबह तक गाजा के आसमान पर इसी तरह कई जगह धुएं के गुबार नजर आए। इजरायल ने दक्षिणी लेबनान पर भी हमले जारी रखे हैं। तोल शहर में उसने एक बिल्डिंग को उड़ा दिया, जिसका उसे हिजबुल्लाह से जुड़े होने का शक था। हमले के बाद इलाके में काफी ऊंची आग की लपटें और धुआं नजर आया। सीज फायर के बाद भी इजरायल लेबनान पर तकरीबन रोज ही हमले करता रहता है। लेकिन हाल फिलहाल में राहत की बात यह है कि वर्ल्ड फूड प्रोग्राम की तरफ से आए आटे के बोरों से भरे कुछ ट्रक डेर अल बलाह की बेकरियों में पहुंचे हैं। ज्यादातर बेकरियां 2 महीने से बंद पड़ी हुई हैं। अब इनकी भट्टियां शुरू होंगी। यहाँ बनी रोटियां काउंटर पर नहीं बिकेंगी, बल्कि सबसे पहले उन लोगों तक पहुंचेंगी जिनको इस वक्त खाने पीने की सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत है।
तो बंद बेकरियां शायद अब खुलें और शायद लोगों के सामने जो समस्या है वो कुछ कम हो, लेकिन हालात वहाँ पर क्या हैं, इन्हीं मुद्दों पर बातचीत की है कुछ देर पहले मैंने भारत में इजरायल के राजदूत रूवन अजार से। कल ही बहुत दुखद खबर आई कि अमेरिका के वॉशिंगटन में एक इजरायली दंपति की हत्या कर दी गई और इससे दुनिया भर में एक शॉक था और सभी लोगों ने इसको कंडेम भी किया है। और ऐसे वक्त में इस मौके पर बातचीत करने के लिए हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं इजरायल के एम्बेसडर रूवन अजार। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपके समय के लिए। और
धन्यवाद।
और एक ऐसे वक्त में मैं आपसे बात कर रही हूँ जब इजरायल के 2 लोगों को, एक कपल को अमेरिका के वॉशिंगटन में उनकी हत्या की गई है। द किलिंग हैज़ बीन शॉकिंग एंड इट हैज़ शॉक्ड द वर्ल्ड एंड देयर हैज़ बीन कंडेमनेशन फ्रॉम ऑल ओवर।
And this is something not only shocking, but it's something that we have to take out of the equation. And you know what the problem is, that not only that we have this threat in our region, but that we have this phenomenon that people make these atrocities and try to justify them, but they are not justifiable. And we shouldn't only condemn them, we have to act to prevent them. And there are many things that we can do internationally. We can stop the dissemination of hatred. We can educate against radicalism. We can prevent money from being funneled by Islamists into academic institutions.
मेरा सवाल आपसे ये है, जब आपने कहा कि radicalism जो लोग बढ़ा रहे हैं, people who are promoting radicalism or who are funding terrorism, and you also mentioned Islamists, who are these people? Who are you referring to? Who are provoking these kind of sentiments?
Well, it's mainly the movement of the Muslim Brotherhood, financing that is coming from countries like Qatar, promoted, incitement that is being promoted by television channels like Al Jazeera, like TRT, money that is coming to fund these activities in the West by countries like Iran and like Qatar and other countries. This has to be monitored, it has to be blocked, and we have a common mission here. We cannot do a double talk. People are trying to contextualize terrorism, saying, you know what, these atrocities are happening because this grievance or the other grievance. Well, conflicts are happening all over the world, but it doesn't mean that it justifies the intentional killing of innocent civilians.
have been reports that are coming out that the civilian population there is the worst sufferer, of course, and there are children there, newborns, who are actually suffering in the absence of food or on the verge of dying. Those are the kind of reports that are coming out.
Well, first of all, those who are responsible for the situation in Gaza are the terrorist organizations that are taking not only hostages from Israel, but are taking their own population hostage and are hiding behind civilians and actually are stealing international assistance from the population and selling it to the population. We are monitoring the situation in a very, very meticulous way, and we have made sure throughout the last 18 months that the population of Gaza has enough food.
But do
the
they have
reports are biased. There are many reports that are biased, that are talking about potential future situations. If children, to the extent that has been reported, have been starving, we would have seen the pictures like we see pictures of starving children in Sudan.
But we
there, 150,000 people have been killed and many are starving, and you see the pictures. In the Gaza Strip, you don't see pictures of people starving. There are enough calories. We made sure that since the beginning of the war, 98,000 trucks of food have entered the Gaza Strip. And throughout the time, we made sure that there is enough food. But you know what? We have made a decision to change the situation and to take the capability of Hamas to take the food from the people. And therefore, from next Sunday, we are going to implement a new mechanism in which in secure areas that the IDF, the Israel Defense Forces, are securing, private companies are going to start giving food directly to the population and not through Hamas.
So like you said that terrorism cannot be justified and there should be no justification for any act of terror and killing, right? And India knows that very well. We have a neighbor which has been a constant source of terror attack and it's still, terror camps are flourishing in our neighborhood. India did carry out Operation Sindoor, but it did a very targeted attack and dissemination of the terror camps there. Very carefully, precision attacks, and the common population was not hurt. But is that how you're looking at the action in Gaza? Because the common population there is actually trapped in that conflict.
Well, for many years we've tried to do limited operations, and we actually made a huge effort to avoid an all-out war like we are having right now. For years, since Hamas took over the Gaza Strip, they've been firing at Israel, they've been doing terrorist attacks against civilians, and each time we made limited actions in order to deter the terrorists. However, what happened is that the terrorists have gathered too much power and they decided to launch this terrible attack that had terrible results. 1,200 Israelis have been massacred, butchered, raped, burned, and we got to the conclusion as a public in the state of Israel that we cannot continue living with this entity called Hamas in the Gaza Strip, and we have to eliminate it. And that's why we're having this prolonged war. I am hopeful that we are entering into the final stages. I think, as I told you, that the war can end immediately when Hamas finally accepts its failure. It has completely failed. They thought that they could eradicate the state of Israel, but instead of that, they eradicated the Gaza Strip with a terrible cost for the population that is tragic. We did a huge effort to avoid that for years, but they left us with no choice. And therefore, this is a different situation from the situation you are having here.
Is there a final question? Is there a humanitarian crisis right now in the Gaza Strip in terms
Well, I think that there is a great degree of suffering in the Gaza Strip. I think people are living in tents. Many houses have been destroyed. It's a terrible situation, and I hope it finishes soon. And as soon as the terrorists relinquish power, the suffering of the population will become shorter, and hopefully we will engage in building a new future for the Gaza Strip, a future that the people deserve.
But no peace negotiation has been successful till now.
Well, we have done peace offers in the past, very generous peace offers. Unfortunately, our Palestinian neighbors have refuted them, and instead of that, have engaged in violence against Israel. When you are being attacked, you have no choice but to defend yourself. And I hope that, looking back, Palestinians will understand that this is a dead end for them. And at the end of the day, they will have to come to the table and negotiate the peace with Israel, peace that actually Israel has already achieved with many of our neighbors, with Egypt, with Jordan, with UAE, with Morocco, with Bahrain, with Sudan. So, our nation is a peace-loving nation, is a democracy. We try to postpone wars. We tried to postpone this invasion to the Gaza Strip. We didn't want to do it. They forced us to do this, and now we have to finish the job.